Most of them have lost their faith. They talk about God because it's a good talking point. I like to thank God for all of these things, but they never identify, a God is anything that you worship.
I thank God for my family, my wonderful husband.
What's up with all this talk about Beyonce and the Illuminati, and what are those rumors?
Everybody who works hard, looks inside themselves, finds strength, creates something special.
Okay.
The president, Jay-Z.
So you've probably seen clips floating around of Terrence Howard's interview with Patrick Bet-David, where he said that back in the day, when Destiny's Child was still a thing, he had a chance to date Beyonce. But according to Terrence, he passed on Beyonce because he was more interested in her bandmate Farrah Franklin.
Jay-Z with Beyonce, you see these couples where it's like,
I had a chance to date Beyonce, early on, and we had a conversation, and I ended up talking to the other girl inside of, Destiny, the girl with the blue eyes. And I remember Beyonce looking over at me, and I think that's why she picked me to do that dance when she did the kind of striptease dance that we did at the BETs or whatever, to show me what I had lost.
That dance Terrence mentioned happened at the 2005 BET Awards when Beyonce performed Cater to You and decided to pull Terrence up on stage, sit him down, and do a whole dance right in front of him. Now, as soon as Terrence mentioned Beyonce's name in that interview, the Beehive went nuts. I'm talking full meltdown mode, jumping in the comments everywhere, calling him a liar, saying he's irrelevant, saying he's just chasing clout because his career isn't what it used to be. You know how they get. But here's the thing. If you actually watch that whole interview, not just the clip, you'd see Terrence wasn't even trying to brag. He wasn't being weird about it. He was just answering a question and telling his story. But the Beehive can't see that. To them, Beyonce is God, and they can't fathom that there are people out there who don't worship her. And speaking of God, if you actually listen to what Terrence said in that same interview, not just about Beyonce, but about the industry, about faith, about what these celebrities really believe, you'll start connecting dots. Terrence said something that should have made everybody stop and think. But of course, the blogs only focused on the Beyonce part. So, according to Terrence, most people in the entertainment industry don't actually believe in God. They just use his name because it's a good talking point. They always thank God in their acceptance speeches, but according to Terrence, they never say which God, because God can be anything you worship: money, fame, power, success, yourself, or something even darker.
Most of them have lost their faith. They talk about God because it's a good talking point. I like to thank God for all of these things, but they never identify, a God is anything that you worship. Some people's God is money, because they do anything for it. They'll sacrifice themselves, they'll sacrifice their children. Some people's God is lust, and they're willing to sacrifice all of that. A God is something that you will trade everything for, or you turn to. Most of them has had to trade in a lot of their beliefs and the things they hold precious to themselves, because they're to get into that place, to get into that business.
And this brings us back to Beyonce, and to her husband, of course. Both of them have been thanking God every time they win awards, but as Terrence pointed out, what God are they talking about really?
I want to thank God, a little bit for this award, but mostly for that and all the universe for conspiring and putting that beautiful light of a young lady in my life.
Now remember when Kanye exposed that you can talk about God in general, but Roc Nation's contracts specifically ban artists from mentioning Jesus Christ?
There's a part in a Roc Nation contract that says that people are not allowed to sing about Christ. Yeah. So I'll be wondering, I'll be like, yo, God, why? Why have you swung my sword? Yeah. Why?
So how does that make sense? You can sing about some unspecified God and thank him for your awards, but you can't say the name of Jesus? That's the type of stuff you do when the God you actually serve got a different name. And look, this ain't about judging people's beliefs, but if you've been paying attention to the entertainment industry and all the darkness around it, you start noticing patterns. Terrence Howard has been around these people for a long time, and he's seen how the industry works. Now combine that with everything else we know about Beyonce and Jay-Z, the symbols, the all-seeing eye, the hand signs, the witchcraft rumors, Jay-Z calling himself Jehovah and reenacting the Last Supper at the Grammys. Is it all a coincidence? Maybe, but in this world, you learn real quick that coincidence is just the word they use to keep you from connecting dots. And speaking of dots, we gotta talk about the visuals Beyonce always uses in her videos and live shows. You remember back in 2020 when Beyonce dropped Black is King on Disney+? Everybody was talking about how beautiful it is, how it was an homage to African culture, to her ancestors, and so on. And yeah, the cinematography was nice, but then some fans noticed something else: horns. Even some pastors called it out and said horns are not African motifs, but the satanic image of Baphomet. Now, for those who don't know, Baphomet is the goat-headed figure the Knights Templar were accused of worshipping back in the Middle Ages, and it's got all kinds of occult symbolism tied to it. And over the years, it's become this whole thing in Hollywood, the idea that the elite worship Baphomet and do rituals to achieve money and power. Even Cat Williams recently talked about it and claimed the Baphomet ritual is very much real, whether people want to believe it or not.
You don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about, does following the ritual work? Yeah. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear. I knew that in the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ring.
And you gotta admit, look at how people literally worship Beyonce. Not appreciate, not enjoy, but worship. The way the Beehive attacks anybody who says one slightly negative thing. The way she's put on this pedestal like she's more than human. And the way her fans act at her concerts is like they're literally possessed. Now fast forward to Christmas 2024 and Beyonce's NFL halftime show in Houston. And what happens? Same thing all over again. She's throwing up the devil horn sign during the performance and wearing a medallion that looks like horns. And it's not like Beyonce did it once or twice. For some reason, she and her husband just love throwing that sign. But it's not just symbolism and hand signals. It gets even darker when you remember that there are multiple people who worked closely with Beyonce and Jay-Z and who later accused them of some seriously disturbing stuff. One of them is former Rock Nation artist MIA, who claimed that Jay-Z and Beyonce pressured her to get plastic surgery and participate in satanic rituals. And according to MIA, these rituals included drenching herself in blood, covering herself in black goo, or wearing devil horns.
I met Jay-Z and I signed to Rock Nation. The first thing he told me to do is get plastic surgery. I'm not insecure because I would have got plastic surgery. People make it, they all can turn around and thank Beyonce because that's it. And enough is enough. Can come in for everyone now. And even Adele, when she gets an award, she thanks Beyonce. So I didn't want to drip myself in blood and cover myself and swim in goop, in black goop, and fucking like wear devil horns to fucking sell a record. Fuck that. Or be a witch, or be that, all of that. Fuck all of that.
Now, we're not here claiming we know for sure what's real and what's not. But when you have multiple people saying the same thing and the same type of symbolism popping up everywhere, you start noticing a pattern. For years, there have been rumors about Beyonce and Jay-Z being way deeper in this stuff than people realize. Not just attending weird parties, but being part of the elite machine and serving as gatekeepers. Remember that Jay-Z just got named in those files? And there was an email where the CEO of Barclays said that Jay-Z is the one who bought off black protesters. They were basically bragging about how the masses are busy with bread and circuses instead of overthrowing the elites. And Jay-Z and Beyonce's role is to keep those masses entertained and distracted. And then remember what J. Cole said on that song, She Knows. A lot of fans were convinced he was low-key trying to expose Beyonce and the alleged sacrifices in the industry.
She knows, and I know she knows, and I know she knows.
Now look at Beyonce's rise. Think about everybody who was on top right before her. Aaliyah, Michael Jackson, Left Eye, Prince, Whitney Houston, all gone, and all passed under very suspicious circumstances. Meanwhile, Beyonce's star kept rising and rising. Now, we're not saying she had anything to do with these celebrity deaths, but it makes you wonder what Beyonce and Jay-Z had to do to stay protected, while all their peer ended up either in jail or 6 feet under. Now let's circle back to Terrence Howard. He didn't play the game, he didn't go to those parties, and he's not in the files. And look where he's at now. Sure, he's still working, but he's nowhere near where he should be based on his talent and accomplishments. Meanwhile, Beyonce and Jay-Z are untouchable billionaires despite all the dark allegations and their documented friendships with actual convicted criminals like Diddy and Harvey Weinstein. Now, if Terrence is right, and most of them don't believe in God, then what do they believe in, and what are they willing to do for it? See, Terrence saw something back then, before she was Queen Bee, before the horns and the symbols and the Sasha Fierce persona. He felt something when he was around her, and whatever it was, he had enough discernment to walk away. But I want to hear your thoughts on all this. Is Terrence telling the truth about rejecting Beyonce? And if he is, do you think he dodged a bullet? Is Beyonce involved in something dark? Or is this all just a coincidence, and people are reading too much into things? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next video.